Well, I actually thought that music was going to run a little bit longer, but it doesn't. And that's okay. What you're looking at through the camera and what you kind of saw opening this premiere is a spectacular 1953 Singer 1591 that is soon to be shipped out to Elvira out on the East Coast. And this particular machine was born on November 20th, 1953. Only 50,000 made in its manufacturing class, and it's absolutely, it's a looker. Need I point that out. But you know what? Looks can be deceiving on sewing machines. Many of you and I have had those conversations where you've gone to eBay, you've gone to Bonanza, you've gone to Etsy, you've gone wherever you've gone, Facebook Marketplace, and you bought a machine that looked really good. And then all of a sudden, those things that were not evident come to the surface. That is the big difference between buying a machine from one of those venues and buying it from this workshop. Is I don't just focus on the machine looking good, it's got to be able to get the job done. Well, let's see how this machine that belongs to Elvira does with a single layer of genuine elk hide, and then we're going to up the ante and go up to 2 layers. Okay, are you ready? And the timing was perfect. The music is off. You can listen to this incredible machine run. It runs so beautifully. I'm debating the width of this, if I want to go down and around. Debating. Sure. Well, why don't I do this? Let me move it over just a little bit. We'll go down, and then we'll go down the other side with the second layer, so we've got a little bit of room to stretch those stitches out. Okay, so a single layer of genuine elk hide, about 4 ounces of chemically processed elk hide with this 1953 Singer 1591. Here we go. Trying to hold the power back, folks. After I got done going through this machine, let me just tell you, it's not wanting to be held back. It's not wanting to be held back. It's like, let me be free. Let me be free, please. And I see already that I'm going to need a cloth to wipe this machine off, so let me do that. You already know the way I'm at with machines. And I'll keep this right within reach because I'm sure I'm going to need it more than once. Okay, finally, after your patience, finally I'm going to show you this stitch. I'm going to kind of hold on to it because right now I'm kind of battling it leveling. So there's our top stitch. From start to finish, single layer of genuine elk hide. Folks, it just doesn't get any better than that. You show me a more perfect stitch and I'll be glad to clap for you. But I'll tell you one thing, that's as close to perfection as you can get going through 4 ounces of chemically treated elk hide. This is the thick of thick. Now, as impressive as this might be, especially for some of you that have similar machines, we're now going to up the ante. You can see our original stitch right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay this one over the top of this other piece. I'll show you from the side what we're going to go through. Folks, that's thicker than the average belt. Honestly, it is. That's thicker than the average belt. And look at the density of that elk hide. It's not a skinny mini type leather where you're like, oh yeah, it looks thick, but it's easy to get through. That is incredibly dense. The piercing threshold on a single layer of elk hide is absolutely through the roof. You go to this level, it's off the charts. It's totally off the charts. So let's see how Elvira's Singer 1591 from 1953 gets the job done going through 2 layers of genuine elk hide. I'm going to drop this presser foot and I think we're ready to rock and roll. So I'm just going to hit the gas, and we're going to knock this out of the park. 2 layers of genuine elk hide. Here we go. I started a little bit slow, but then all of a sudden I was like, okay, let's just do this. Let's just do it. Let's not goof around here, folks. Let's not goof around. Not even a hesitation on the part of this 1591. And I know that there are a lot of 1591s out there that couldn't even probably do that single layer of elk hide, and certainly not make it as easy as, I'm getting this little fluff off of here, it's going to drive me nuts, and certainly not get it done as easily as Elvira's 1591 just did. So our top row is the one that we just did. Let me bring these lights in a little bit. The top row is the one we just did. From start to finish, absolute perfection. The spacing, the formation, the integrity of the stitch, it just doesn't get any better than that. And that's our original row on the bottom there, that single layer that we did with that top stitch. There's no difference, folks. There's no difference, which tells you that that bobbin case is rocking and rolling. It's pulling that thread down nice and taut through those super thick layers of genuine elk hide. Oh my gosh. It's just pulling it right through, and it's getting the job done beautifully. So that tells us right away that bobbin case is set properly, it's operating properly, it's been lubricated properly. And yes, there are lubrication points on a bobbin case as well. Newsflash, newsflash. Now as we turn it over, what are we going to see? Are we going to see disaster? I mean, look at, after all, what we went through. We went through more leather, more density of leather than a man's heavy-duty belt that you would expect to see somebody wearing on a ranch or a farm. Honestly, look at it. It's nuts. And yet when we turn it over, there's absolutely no difference at all with this lock stitch. The spacing, I'll even pull it back for you a little bit. The spacing, where am I? The spacing, the formation, the integrity of the stitch, the glory of the stitch is just exactly as it should be. That's our lock stitch, folks. I've told you before, lock stitches are very hard to nail because you're fighting gravity, pulling that thread back up through this. Let me show it from this side, it's even more clear. You're pulling that thread back up through this. And, you know, doing this is one thing. This is impressive. This is impressive, this top stitch. But when you can lay down a lock stitch like this, through this much genuine elk hide that's chemically processed, and get that level of perfection, the spacing, the formation, and the integrity of the stitch, this machine that is heading out to Elvira is running at the absolute top of its game. And why wouldn't it be after I spent about 14 hours going through this machine from bobbin to balance wheel? That's the difference here at this workshop. It's not going to be a quick wipe it off with a rag, drop a couple little drops of oil in it, and expect that to be getting the job done. Are you serious? This is how you get the job done. Prepping a machine at this level, at this workshop, and being able to go through this much leather. Oh my gosh, I got to throw that to the rear. And yes, Elvira, that's going to come out to you so you can feel it with your own hands and look at it and just be like, oh my gosh, I've got a 1591 on steroids. I've got a 1591 on steroids is what Elvira can say out in the, where is she from? I'm just totally blanking. It's East Coast, I know that. Is it Massachusetts? I think it is. It's been so busy here, folks. You'll just have to forgive me. It's not for lack of caring about my customers. It just, I've been blessed with so much coming in so quickly. It's just like, blah, 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 blah. So let me come on in this shot again, and we're gonna take a little, I wouldn't even have to do any more sew-offs, honestly. You know what I mean? We could stop right here after you saw this 1953 Singer 1591 blast through 2 layers of genuine elk hide. I mean, how do you beat that? How do you literally beat that? But I'm gonna diverge a little bit here and go over to the other workbench so we can cover a little bit of the history relating to this incredible machine, the 1591, and also another machine that oftentimes is lumped in with the 1591. And from this distance, it may be hard to see, but on the far left, we have another Singer 1591, a much older Singer 1591 on the far left there. And why don't I just zoom in on it instead of you going, can we get a telescope or what? So here's a much earlier version of a Singer 1591. There's some telltale signs. You can see the decaling is real close. It's pretty much spot on. But you've got a bobbin winding tensioner like this over here, and this machine has not been finalized yet. So if you see gunk and junk, or if you see a yucky spool pin over here, just forgive it because it hasn't been finalized. This is from my personal collection. But you can see we have a totally different bobbin winding tensioner there compared to, say, where are we? This one. Profound difference. Design feature changes, etc. And even the upper tension assembly is going to be slightly different. Faceplate's going to be a little bit different. This particular machine, again, you already know Elvira's is from 1953. This 1591 is from 1934. And you might be saying, okay, all right, give us some potatoes or give us some meat with those potatoes is what I meant to say. When did the 1591 come on the scene? Well, that's a great question. And did it follow or did it precede the Singer 201-2 or the 201 series in general? Those are also great questions. You are so smart. So first of all, I don't even remember what the first question was. Okay, the first question was, when did the 1591 come on the scene? It came on the scene in 1932. 1932. So this machine you're looking at right now that's in my personal collection actually came on the scene 2 years after the 1591 was introduced. Again, the 1591 came on the scene in 1932, and this particular 1591 came on the scene or was born in 1934. Specifically, October 4th, 1934. And there were only 35,000 made in the manufacturing production class of this particular machine. As I've said before, as soon as you drop below the ceiling of 50,000 machines, the value of that machine goes up exponentially. So this 1591 is a real collectible machine because there were only 35,000 made when it came on the scene. And they manufactured the Singer 1591 until right around 1956. Now, the contrast of that, if we move a little bit to my right, we're no longer looking at a 1591. We are looking at a Singer 201-2, aka coined by Scott almost 10 years ago, the Rolls-Royce of Singer sewing machines. The very same type of machine that we just gave away, Bill and Hans and I gave away when we did that mega giveaway for hitting 7,000 subscribers. It is probably one of the most treasured, coveted machines that Singer ever made. I would put it even up there, if not above, the Singer Featherweight 221. The 201-2 is just, it is the Rolls Royce of Singer sewing machines. How do you beat it? How do you beat it? Other than putting it next to its little brother, which is the 1591. Now, what about the 201-2? I asked you a little bit ago, did the 201 series, and there were a lot of 201s, I've covered that before in other premieres. Did the 201 predate the 1591, or did the 1591 predate the 201-2? I'm going to give you a second. Type it in the chat. If you get it right, I'll send you something special. All right? So which came first, the chicken or the egg? Or in this case, what came first, the Singer 201 or the Singer 1591? Na da 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 dun da 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 dun da 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 dun da dun 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 dun. All right, time's up. The correct answer is the Singer 1591, this one right here, came on the scene before the Singer 201. The Singer 201 came on the scene in 1935. The Singer 1591 came on the scene in 1932. So it beat the 201 by 3 years. And the 1591, again, was in production until right around 1956. Probably the 201 just to make its point and say, yeah, you beat us, but we're going to be out there being manufactured longer than you, little brother. Little brother. We're going to be manufactured until right around 1961. So the answer is the 201-2 came after, definitely came after the 1591, but it was in production for about, what is it, 56 to 61, 5 years. It was in production for about 5 years longer than its little brother, the 1591. And the tricky thing, not so much about the 201, or in this case, as you're looking at it, the 201-2, which, by the way, I should do a shout out and mention that this particular 201, which is beginning to go through the processes of finalization, is going to be heading out to the great state of Oklahoma. Oh, Oklahoma, where the wind goes. You know the song, and I just totally cracked my voice at the beginning of that, but that's a beautiful song and a beautiful musical. But Margaret Mayhew is going to be getting this Rolls Royce of Singer sewing machines, and she's been a very patient lady. I guess she's been waiting about 2 months, which, based on how busy it's been in the workshop, that's really not a real long wait, but it depends on which side of the fence you're standing on. If you're standing on the workshop side and you're running faster than a hiccup, time passes really fast. But if you're on the other end as a customer waiting for that treasured machine, you're like, oh gosh, this is like eternity. But Margaret has been extremely patient, and she's from the great city of, what is it? Bartlesville, Oklahoma, if I'm saying that right. B-A-R-T-L-E-S, Ville. Bartlesville, Oklahoma. I hope I'm saying that right. And this 201-2 is going to be heading out to that neck of the woods, which I believe from the postal mark is not too terribly far from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So Margaret, your machine is not only in the works now, it's on the workbench, and I'm beginning that process of finalizing it. And soon we'll be moving like Elvira's towards that phase of being able to premiere the machine, which will be fabulous. And So congratulations again to Margaret on her 201-2. Now finally we go all the way to the right and things get real weird. And you might say, okay, what's up? Why in heaven's name do we have that machine even on the workbench? I mean, over here we've got a 1591. Here we've got a 201-2 that is going to, that belongs to Margaret. And then over here we've got, what in the heck is that? Well, that's also, like this one, and like Elvira's, is a class 15 sewing machine. And this particular one, which was Japanese made, was modeled almost exactly after the class 15. The only difference is, obviously the 1591 has a potted motor, and this particular machine has a rear motor mounted with a belt-driven power system. Boy, that was awkward. But it nonetheless is a class 15. You'll notice the telltale signs. Instead of having the upper tension assembly mounted on the front of the machine, nothing there. It's mounted on the faceplate, just like this 19, where are we? Just like this 19, what did I say, 34? Just like this 1934 1591, and just like Elvira's 1591 as well. And again, there's a lot of stories out there, and I get people all the time writing Hans and Bill and myself, and they'll make a proclamation that they think is fact, and it turns out to be absolutely incorrect. It goes back to the slant needle machines, that they deliver more power, more punch, when in fact the slant needle, the slantomatics were designed for better visibility down at the needle. And it's the same thing with the class 15s that have that upper tension that's moved from the front to the faceplate. That again is an issue of visibility. People were always irritated by the fact that that doggone upper tension was right in their line of view as they were looking from the top down at their project down towards that needle, and that upper tension in some way obscured their visibility. So finally Singer went, okay, well, we can move it. We'll just build it into the assembly of the faceplate, and we'll just run the tension that way, and we'll just route the thread feed a little bit differently. So they did that. Well, obviously post-World War II, when we were trying to help the Japanese rebuild their country after Hiroshima and Nagasaki was bombed, and we, as I've mentioned in premiere after premiere after premiere, we, in an effort to help them rebuild their economy, gave them the patents and designs to a lot of machines, including the class 15 machines. And so they took that and they modeled it, and they came up with brands like the Universal, and there's just so many different post-World War II clone machines. I can't even name them all. But usually the telltale sign is you'll see a badge mark on the front like this. And the Japanese love the word deluxe. They love the word deluxe. And so they would put this big badge mark on the front, and they would label it as the Deluxe Family Sewing Machine, Japan. Now here's the paradox on this machine that I decided to share with you today, which is also from my personal collection. This Universal Class 15 is, you can say, okay, we get it. They basically copied our design using our patents and our designs, and they made all these machines, and then they flooded our market in the US, and they put a lot of US makers that were making sewing machines out of business. Is that the end of the story? Well, not completely. They ran into some opposition as that became more evident, and it hit different newspapers, and the word got out that all of these Japanese machines were flooding into our market, putting a lot of US manufacturers of sewing machines in jeopardy, if not out of business. They thought, well, we've got to find another way to give credibility to our product if it's going to be out there in the US market. And so then they added, and it's really subtle. We got to really zoom in. Where is it? There it is. they added this additional little sweetheart underneath their branding of Universal, and it says Registered U.S. Patent Office. Well, what does that really mean? It doesn't mean a lot, because the patents that we gave them, the designs that we gave them, were already registered with the U.S. Patent Office. But they made it a point of emphasizing that the design, the patent that they were using to make this clone, was from an original U.S. patent registered mark. Mark is kind of the legal definition when you're dealing with trademarks and you're dealing with patents. So, you know what? I don't fault the Japanese for doing that. They're very smart business people. And they knew as they ran into some opposition, because they were obviously underselling the U.S. manufacturers. They were bringing the product in, they were selling it more cheaply. It was basically a replica of machines like this. And they had to be clever. So that's what they did. But when you look at the machines, even when you measure the machines, you know, whether it's the full length of the machine, whether it's the harp space, whether it's distance from needle to pillar, or from bed to the top of the arm, whatever you measure, it's a carbon copy of a machine like this. But that's not the end of the story either. That's not the end of the story, because as I come out and we look at two very different Class 15s, the U.S. made Class 1591 on the far left from 1934, the post-World War II Class 15 that came out of Japan on the far right. We've got a lot of other Class 15s as well, and I'm just going to rattle down the list that I printed real quick just to share it with you. And then you can dig into it deeper if you want to find out more. But we have to go all the way back to about 1879 to go to the very front of the line when it comes to Class 15 type machines. The 15-1, which you hardly ever hear about, came on the scene in about 1879, and it was manufactured until about 1895. Then you also have the Class 15-11, and I'm just going to go down these real quick because we have so much more to cover in this premiere. And then after the 15-11, we've got the 15-22, we've got the 15-30, we've got the 15-75, we've got the 15-80, we've got the 15-86, we've got the 15-87, we've got the 15-88, we've got the 15-89, we've got the 15-90, which is going to be real close to the 1591. It's just going to be belt driven. It's not going to have a potted motor. And then obviously we have our coveted 1591 that we're highlighting in this premiere today. And then after that, it doesn't end. I've got to take a deep breath. After the 1591, we had the 15-96, the 15-97, the 15-98, the 15-110-111-125-115. I'm not sure why that was out of order in the summary that I did, but does it give you an idea where if someone says to you, I've got a Class 15 machine, you being as smart as you are because you're part of our classroom and you spend time all the time learning and teaching, you're going to say to them, what kind of Class 15 are we talking about? And you can rattle down that list and they're going to be like, I was trying to sound smart and now all of a sudden you're blowing me out of the water. Where'd you get so smart? We hang out at Cow Country Vintage Sewing Machines and Restoration, and when we got questions in that, we watch Scott's videos, we reach out to Hans, we reach out to Bill, and we get smarter together because it's a classroom. But it just gives you an idea of how wide scoped the Class 15 was, not only in the US market, but worldwide. There were 15Ks of all kinds of flavors, shapes, and varieties over in the United Kingdom as well. And the Class 15 was just such a wide production series around the world, and it always took on a slightly different twist depending on where it was being made and who was making it. Is that helpful? I hope it is, because these are things that I didn't know either. And as I dug into it, preparing for this premiere, some of these things I may have known, but it's, you know, if it's not in front of you all the time, you kind of forget about it. And it's like, wow, that's right. The Class 15 series worldwide is huge. It's crazy huge. All right. Blah, 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 blah. I got to get a drink of water, folks. Let's go back to the other workbench. Excuse me. See why I need a drink of water? Over to Elvira's 1591. And let's do some more sewing with this great machine. Oh, sometimes a drink of water, it's just hard to beat, isn't it? All right, let me put on some little interlude music here. That first one that you heard is Jesse's Carnival Waltz. Jesse's Carnival Waltz. And now we've got Crack That Case, which is called Jazz and Blues. Yeah. Some of you might know it, some of you might not know it about me. But back in the day, starting around 5th grade, I think it was the end of 4th grade going into 5th grade, I took up the trumpet. And over the years, all the way through high school, I played in pep bands and jazz bands and concert bands. Oh, this takes me back. We played some really cool jazz music. Oh my gosh, we played some cool jazz music. All right, let's get back to sewing. And I'm going to keep this water nearby because my throat feels a little funny now. So all right, let's do a little bit of denim now. I don't do denim too often. This is heavy grade denim. Oh, I better turn my screen around. So heavy grade denim, I'm gonna see if I can fold this to give us 6 layers, if I fold it correctly, that is. So I'm gonna fold it in half, get us up to 2 layers. I'm gonna fold it, how would I do this? Oh, I see what I do. I'll fold it midway and get us up to 4 layers, if you can kind of see that. And then I'm gonna fold it over one more time after I get that little tuft of thread out of the way. Fold it over one more time and get us up to 6 layers of heavy grade denim. We have people writing us all the time, Hans and Bill and myself, all the time talking about power issues with their machine. And this doesn't just include the 1591, it's FAF machines, or as I prefer to say, FOF machines. It's Husqvarna Vikings, you name it. Power issues, power issues. And a number of them over the years have reported, I can't even get through 3 layers of heavy grade denim. And we're going to be doing 6 now with this 1591. And I think we're going to be doing it with a lot of ease. a lot of ease. Okay, so 6 layers of, boy, that's, I just looked over my shoulder and you can look from the side now at what 6 layers of heavy grade denim looks like. Ah! Help! Help! No help needed. This machine has been prepared at Scott's workshop. Need I say anything more? Need I say anything more? All right, enough bravado. Let's go ahead and buzz down these 6 layers of heavy grade denim. All right, let's get her done. I just had to give it a little bit more oomph-pa-pa, you know what I mean? I always hold these machines back and they just get irritated with me like, come on, come on, come on. What's the point of having power if we can't use it? Kind of like some of these real cool muscle cars that have 500 horsepower. But where do you, I mean, unless you have a track or some back roads or something, where do you really get a chance to put a car like that to the test? That's got to be frustrating having a car like that. I'd be okay with that frustration. I don't know about you. You already know I like speed. You already know it! All right. Okay, here's our top stitch. I might zoom in on those just so you can see them a little bit easier. I may have to check that angle too. So this is again our 6 layers of heavy grade denim that we just did using Elvira's 1953 Singer 1591. Folks, it just doesn't get any better than that. It just doesn't. The spacing, look at that from the side. The spacing, the formation, the integrity of the stitch, the presentation of the stitch, just absolutely spot on. And again, we're not talking about a light sew-off here, folks. We're talking 6 layers of heavy grade denim. If we turn it over, what are we going to see? You see anything weird or wonky? No. We're going to see a near perfect, and I always say near perfect just because I think declaring that something is perfect kind of limits you so that you, oh, okay, we've hit that mark, we don't need to get any better. I'm committed to constantly improving what I do. And so I'm going to say near perfect. And as we go down, whoops, I got a hornet in the workshop here. That is not good. I may have to, hold on a second, folks, so I don't get stung here. This is one of those, whoops, that was unexpected. All right, if you hear a loud sound, it's me swinging at a hornet. Good Lord, that's a big bee. All right, this is unexpected. This is unexpected. I had one in the other day too. It's that time of the year right now where these things are just coming out everywhere, and you open a door and they sneak in and they'll hang out somewhere, and then all of a sudden right in the middle of a premiere they're like, hey, I know what we can do. We can pop out and drive Scott crazy as we're trying to do a premiere. And that crash you heard was a little mirror that I have on the rear pole over there. And that was busted, so doggone that bee. I better keep this swatter nearby just in case, and I'm gonna tough it out here. So here's our lock stitch, which is what I was starting to show you when this bee flew onto the scene. And there's just no difference with that lock stitch. It's absolutely spot on. The spacing, the formation, everything about that stitch is just absolutely picture perfect. See, I kind of snuck it in. I said picture perfect instead of perfection. And I better watch out. I got glass on the floor now. I took a swat at him and now I don't see him. He either flew somewhere else or maybe I knocked him down. I've got fairly good hand-eye coordination. So again, that's our lock stitch, 6 layers of heavy grade denim. You really see it when you kind of zoom out a little bit too. Cameras are so tricky when it comes to getting a shot that, you know, I can see things in the workshop readily, but for you to be able to see them like I'm seeing them, that's always the challenge, and that's what I'm most concerned about doing, because I've been on other channels where, I'm picking up some glass real quick, I've been on other channels where, you know, they're talking about something that you're supposed to be able to see, and you just can't see it. It's like, what? Where is it? Where? So try to avoid that on this channel as much as possible, and a lot of that success is because of feedback that you've given as well. So kudos to you. All right, let me move these clippers out of the way. I'm going to give these 6 layers of heavy grade denim an absolute pass. I'm going to throw it to the back with our 2 super thick layers of genuine elk hide. That just still blows me away. Elk hide is just, oh my gosh, I've said this before, it's like sewing patio blocks. It just is. It just is. All right, what else do we have fun that we can throw on? That last one again was crack the case. Oh, this ought to be fun. This next one is dance electric style, and it's called Wild Pogo. How do you beat that? Ooh. All right, I'm heading back to the 70s now. I'm seeing Olivia Newton-John and I'm seeing John Travolta for some reason. It's probably not good, is it? All right, hold on a second. Okay, so I think what we're gonna sew next is gonna be some genuine cowhide. Let me zoom in on the needle. And I'm probably not gonna have time in this premiere to show them, but I posted a lot of progress shots on Facebook of Elvira's 1953 1591 going through the finalization steps. Even if you don't have a Facebook account and you're kind of anti-Facebook, you really should check them out. They really are excellent in showing you the depth of what I do to machines and the difference. All right. Now I'm kind of paranoid. I'm keeping an eye open for that huge wasp that probably is still lurking somewhere down here. All right, let's do some cowhide. And I think we'll do 3 layers. So I'm going to fold it in half, like so. And then I'm going to fold this other side over. So we're all the way up to, and I'm going to try to get this lined up a little bit. We're all the way up to 3 layers of genuine cowhide. Okay, let me try to get this lined up and get this underneath the presser foot. And perfect timing. Perfect timing. The music has stopped. Yay! For all of you anti-music people. Okay, presser foot is down. Let's get that take-up arm all the way up so we're ready to get this done. And again, we're talking about 3 layers of genuine cowhide, probably the equivalent of about, I would say conservatively, 10 to 12 ounces of genuine cowhide. If that doesn't hit home with like holy mackerel, then you really need to do some research on leather so you understand how leather is measured in relation to ounces. When you're getting up into the range of 12 ounces of genuine cowhide, that's that's getting close to commercial grade type sewing. It truly is. It truly is. I mean, that is beyond thick. All right, so let's buzz down. We might hit the end and turn and then come back. I'm kind of debating that. We'll see. All right, here we go. 3 layers of genuine cowhide. Oh, shoot, I went too far. I went too far! Okay, I'm going to have to... I normally would like to have the needle down if I could. I can't do it. So there's going to be a wonky thing at the end of there, which it is what it is. All right, let's finish this off. Okay, I'm going to rotate that down. And now we're going to see if we can make it down to the finish. All right, here we go. Oops, let's get some traction here, Scott. Get some traction. Put on the snow tires. I was stuck on the end, and I don't know if you could see it, but the presser foot was kind of in a weird position, and I thought, well, I can just punch it, but I wasn't getting any traction, so it was like. But we got through it. We figured it out somehow. All right, let me give a clip to these threads, and then we'll look at our stitching, which I can already see is drop dead gorgeous. Drop dead gorgeous. Oh my goodness gravy. Except for my weird little turn where I went too far down the leather and then I couldn't leave the needle in the leather. It's going to be a little bit funky, but that's okay. That's okay. All right, hopefully I got that angled right for the camera. We'll just kind of buzz around and look at these stitches real quick. And I'm going to have to keep an eye on my battery too. So again, we're looking at about 12 ounces of genuine cowhide. And we're looking at stitching that it just doesn't get any better than that. That's where I was trying to get up that little hill. See that little weird thing on the end? And then my weird little turn. Just ignore all that. Let's get back to the real stitching. So there's our perfect stitches going all the way back down. Just gorgeous stitches. Kind of look at them together. Imagine that being on a product that you're making. Oh my goodness. Minus the end stuff. Just block that out of your mind. I better stop laughing. I'm rocking the whole camera. And again, just, you know, my point is this. What we just did with no effort with this 1591 that I prepared for Elvira, that's going to be heading out to the East Coast. My machines on this channel make it look so easy that you sometimes have to shake yourself back up to an awareness of, what did we just do? What did we just do? What did we just do? That's what we just did right there. And more importantly than getting through it, and I say this all the time, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this or not. Probably not. I always try this and it never works. It never works. But more importantly than getting through it, laying down a stitch like that, that's where the rubber meets the road. Except for on the very end of the leather there where I couldn't get any traction. It was like, ah! Ah! And there you can see it from the side too. And then our lock stitch, no difference. No difference at all. Absolute perfection. So the 3 layers of genuine cowhide, an absolute pass. I'm going to throw it back there with the elk hide and the 6 layers of heavy grade denim. And we're just going to keep on marching forward. I mean, it really changes your world when you see other machines performing at a certain level, and then you see a machine like Elvira's that's been prepared in the workshop doing the things that it's doing, and doing it so ridiculously easy that you're just like, I don't get it. Why won't my machine do that? I took it in for a service. I took it in for a service to my local sewing center. I paid them 150 bucks, but I still can't even come close to doing 2 layers of elk hide like Scott did, or the 6 layers of heavy grade denim, or the 3 layers of genuine cowhide. Why can't my machine do it? I've said it before, folks. The people that run those sewing centers, God bless them, they're running a business. They're probably very honest people, but they've got a lot of overhead and they can only spend so much time on your machine. Typically about 45 minutes. The ones that really go out of their way, maybe an hour. I doubt it. Probably around 40 to 45 minutes. 14 hours of finalization preparation with Elvira's Singer 1591 that you're seeing premiere today. 14 hours. Even if we give them the benefit of the doubt, the local sewing centers that charge you between 100 to 150 bucks to do a complete service on your sewing machine, to get it running at the top of its game, and yet it's not even close to Elvira's. Even if we give them the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, let's say they spent an hour. I'm spending on average 14 times the longer preparing a machine than those local sewing centers. That's why there's such a big difference. That's why. It's about how much time is poured, how much effort, and also obviously the knowledge. You can spend a lot of time doing something and not get incredible outcomes if you don't know what to do. So I think that's another major factor, is the knowledge as well. So blah, 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 blah. All right, let's do some more sewing, but first of all, I'm going to pop on a little bit of music, and I'm going to grab another drink of water real quick. Okay, the next one is called A Stranger Thing, and it's labeled Cinematic, so that'll be interesting. Ooh, yeah. I'll turn this down a little bit because I think we're gonna sew with this running. You can grab some water too if you'd like. All right, if you're not impressed yet with this 1591 that I prepared for Elvira, then you are one tough cookie, because I'm impressed. All right, let's do some of this crazy stretchy stuff that I just absolutely love to hate. Watch this again, if you're new to the channel. It's like bubble gum. It's like bubble gum, but it's got a leather cover on it. It's got a leather top, and it's got this weird elastic background. So let's go ahead and do some of this. I've got 2 layers, and I'm going to fold it in half and get us up to 4 layers of this stuff. And if you're not familiar with sewing an elasticy, kind of a stretchy material, it is notorious for messing around with your stitch integrity. So let's see how this machine does with a task like this. All right, I'm going to be smart and stop sooner this time. All right, to the finish line. We're going uphill again. Hopefully I get traction. Drop it in low gear. Drop it in low gear. No difficulty whatsoever. And this elasticy stuff is kind of fun because it kind of gets almost a quilted puckery look after you sew it with multiple layers. I think this is really cool material. I'm going to be bummed out when I run out of it. I've got a big roll of it, but I go through it pretty quick with all the premieres and stuff. So, okay, so this is our top stitch, and I'm trying to bend this stuff back and it's springing back on me. Come on. So there's our top stitch right there. I probably should just zoom in on it because it's not gonna be real easy to see it. It may not be easy to see it even if I zoom in on it, but I'll give it my best. Absolutely perfect stitching. And my battery's starting to drop quick, so I'm gonna come out on this shot and we're gonna look at that lock stitch. This stuff is ridiculous. You bend it and it pops back. It's like spring loaded almost. You better wear safety goggles when you sew this stuff. So here's our lock stitch. Again, we went through 4 layers of this stuff. Absolute perfection. The spacing, the formation, the integrity of the stitch, just absolutely spot on. All the way around. All the way around. Just beautiful stitching. All right, let me come onto this shot. You can look at it for a second. And I'm going to throw this to the back. These 4 layers of this stretchy leather covered material is an absolute pass. So I'll throw it back there with the heavy grade denim, the elk hide, and the genuine cowhide as well. We are not even coming close to challenging this machine yet, and I'm just thinking that we're not going to be able to. But I'm going to go through this compressed felt next. You've seen me sew this before. The one premiere, if you're a faithful follower, you saw it snap a needle. So you already know that this stuff is not easy stuff to get through. The piercing threshold is very high. One layer of this stuff. Let me turn my screen around. Yeah, I've got that lined up, I think. One layer of this stuff is a challenge enough. We're going to do 3 layers. So let me get this underneath the presser foot. And I think for the sake of time, even though I could easily go down and around, what the heck, it's only going to take another, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute. So let's go ahead and buzz down and around this compressed felt, and we'll see how Elvira's 1591 from 1953 gets the job done. Here we go. I stopped in time, hey! And I didn't stop in time that way. Oh, jeez. I'm way off course. I get A for effort, but I very seldom do not. Yeah, at any rate, you know. Here we go. Well, the stitches make up for my lack of navigation, apparently. So let me go ahead and clip these, and we'll take a look at these stitches real quick. And this is, again, my new battery in this camera. I even sent feedback to the individual that I bought it from, and I said, I'm really disappointed. You know, this is supposed to be an OEM battery. It's supposed to, you know, just get the job done, and it's putting out less energy than my old battery that I replaced. So it just goes to show you, I mean, well, it just goes to show you. So this again is that compressed felt. We're talking about 3 layers. I'm going to have to use the clips because it's going to move around. We'll see if we can get a decent shot of this. Absolutely gorgeous stitching. The spacing, the formation. There's my weird little turn over there. The integrity of the stitch is just absolutely spot on. All the way across, all the way down. It just, honestly, it just doesn't get any better than that. You come out on the shot too and look at it in its totality. And that's exactly what we want to be seeing. That top stitch is just absolutely spot on. So let's turn it around and see how we did. Again, we're talking 3 layers of this stuff. Let's see how we did with this lock stitch. Here's our lock stitch now. Had a little stray piece of thread there. That was weird. Maybe that happened when I was trying to swing at that bee. So here again is our lock stitch. And you know what? Those stitches are just as spot on as the others. Again, because this stuff has a little bit of depth, and it kind of puckers a little bit when you sew it. Some of the stitches are harder to see than others, unless I was over there trying to pull it all back. But again, I'm trying to watch our time a little bit. But you get the idea. You can look at it. We swing out a little bit on the totality of those lock stitches as well through 3 layers of compressed felt, and it's just absolutely as it should be. So I'm going to throw that to the back as well with all the other sew-offs we've done, and we'll see how much more we can fit onto this Premier. I'd love to be able to, and I'm probably going to have to look at ordering another battery, because when you get a battery, let's just face it, there's no guarantees where they're going to say, we guarantee it's going to run 2 hours and 15 minutes. No. Don't even count on that. It's kind of like buying a sewing machine on eBay or on Bonanza or on Etsy, and that seller saying, I'm going to guarantee this machine for 540 years. Now, if you get a 5-day guarantee, you're doing pretty good. All of my machines, by the way, and I think you already know this, all of my machines come with a limited lifetime warranty. And I say limited just because when it comes to sewing machines, they can be neglected, they can be abused. And so I have to add that little limited clause in there just for certain exclusions where there's extreme circumstances where obviously it's not the fault of the machine and it's not my fault. It's the customer that has, done something that has caused the machine to fail. So, all right, let's see what else we can fit in. We don't have much left. We got some burlap. We've got some U.S. Army grade canvas. We'll see what else we can squeeze in. And I know we're definitely not going to have time for the Facebook progress shots, unfortunately, because I think they were some real good progress shots. Okay, this next one is called Big Al's. Yeah. I think Big Al could run a barbecue place. I don't know about you. All right, just in case the battery croaks on us, let's see if we can get some U.S. Army grade canvas in. It's kind of my trademark. Okay, so we've got a single layer. I'm folding it in half. We're up to 2 layers. I'm folding it again. We're up to 4 layers. And I'm folding it one last time. And we're all the way up to 8 layers of U.S. Army grade canvas. Let's see how this 1591 does sewing something as tough as this, as tight as this. I mean, we're basically sewing a tube of canvas. We're basically sewing a tube of canvas, folks, as snug as that is right now. And we still have ample space underneath that presser foot. The clearance on the 1591 is excellent. It's very, very good. Okay, let's see what we get here. All the other sew-offs have been absolutely a walk in the park. Let's see if we can continue that with this final sew-off of U.S. Army grade canvas. 8 layers of U.S. Army grade canvas. Look at it from the side. I am hearing plastic machines all over the world screaming right now, literally screaming, "Don't do it! You're gonna die! Don't do it! Don't do it! Don't do it!" Yeah. We don't worry about that with our vintage machines, do we? Especially when they've come out of this workshop. All right, let's get her done. Here we go. That was me messing with the foot control. That was me messing, not the machine hesitating. You can tell the difference. You're smart. That machine just went through this like, done, done. Next challenge, next challenge. Give us a challenge, please. Give us a challenge. Oh, that's weird. There's like a weird tuft. I'll show you here real close. There's a little tuft right here. See that little tuft of material? It's kind of draped down, almost like shrouding the stitch. And when I pull it back, the stitch is revealed. That is so weird. Must be the way I cut it. But those stitches are just absolutely spot on. I'm kind of looking over my shoulder here. Absolutely spot on. The spacing, the formation, the integrity of the stitch. That is the goofiest thing. I've got to see if I can. It's going to drive me nuts. Oh well. That little tuft of material is just kind of draped over it. It's the weirdest thing. So let me put it down like this too so I can hold it a little bit more stable. But those stitches are just absolutely picture perfect in every respect. I'm having trouble seeing it in my screen. I don't know if you're having trouble seeing it or not. Let me zoom in on that. I want you to be able to see those stitches as clearly as I can see them sitting at the workbench here. Absolutely spot on. Oh, my camera's going into crash and burn. I better turn this over real quick. It's got the screen blinking right now telling me, Mayday, 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 we're about to die, we're about to die. And here's our other side. Let's look at these real fast before, oh thank goodness you can see them. So again, the spacing, the formation through 8 layers of U.S. Army grade canvas is an absolute slam dunk. Look at it from the side, folks. So Elvira, it's been a pleasure preparing this machine for you. I wish I didn't have to rush at the end right now, but this daggone battery that I got is not meeting the mustard. And but your machine has done a fabulous job. I'll see if I have time to real quick rattle off all of our sew-offs and just show you the summary again so you can be reminded. We kind of started with this genuine elk hide. Went through 2 layers of this stuff. You see that again, 2 layers of this elk hide. And it was just amazing. 3 layers of this cowhide. Just spot on. I better stop reaching way out there because I'm not going to have time. 6 layers of heavy grade denim. This rubbery stuff, we went through 4 layers of that. No problem. 8 layers of U.S. Army grade canvas. And then also these 3 layers of compressed felt. Every single sew-off we did with this machine that I had the privilege to prepare for Elvira, it just knocked it out of the park. No difficulty whatsoever. So I'm incredibly satisfied. Oops. That's it.